Good morning, everyone. In this video, we'll be looking at structural functionalism, how it views society, and what are the difference between a manifest function and a latent function. Also, the institutions and social facts. And lastly, the criticism about structural functionalism. So all good questions and answers are coming up. Structural functionalism theory, also known as functionalism theory, was created by Emil Durkheim. According to this theory, society is made up of a bunch of moving parts that move together as one. So what this theory does? Structural functionalism theory is that it views society as a clock, or a car, or a living cell, you could say. Now, what I mean by this is that every person in a society has a specific job and function to play with. And this individual person will work together whether they like it or not. That's how similar to a clock, or a car, or a living cell. To a clock, it's have a gear. To a car, it's have a belt. And to a cell, it's have a different parts with a unique function. If you take one gears of the clock, or the belts of the car, or the membrane of the cell, do you think the car, the clock, or the cell, will they function properly? Basically, no, and the same for society. Thus, structural functionalism theory believes that there must be an equilibrium in the society, that every structure must do their respective jobs on the scale, and they needed to be balanced. Structural functionalism theory is looking at society from a macro level, so meaning it is looking at society as a whole. In accordance to this theory, there are two functions to maintain the equilibrium, and these functions are the manifest function and a latent function. So let's get to the manifest function. So first, the manifest function. These are things that are put in place intentionally to keep the society moving forward. Meaning, these are the intended purpose of an institutions. These are the original goal for it. So an example of an institution is that the school. Now, the manifest function of the school is to teach students, to be able to prepare the students in the real world, and to train the students to become a more productive members of society. That is the manifest function. Another one, the manifest function of a media is that to inform and to entertain the society. That is the intended purpose. And the manifest function of the businesses is to connect people across societies. And for the military corps is to serve and protect and also to maintain the peace and order in society. Again, these are the intended purpose or the so-called manifest function. Next, we have the latent function. Latent function are the unrecognized or the unintended consequences from the manifest function. These are often indirect effects of the institutions. So what I mean by this is we know that the school, the point is to teach students and to prepare them for the society. But the latent function of the school is to develop a friend group, and also you have a love life or even learn from the extracurricular activities. Or while studying, you discover some concert, anime, manga series, K-drama, or even stuck at playing Mobile Legends. And you spend the late nights in doing these activities instead of preparing for your test the next day. Thus, you failed. So, latent function can come either a positive or a negative unintended consequences. Latent function can be positive or negative, a bad or a good, that will depend on the individual person. For example, you are getting involved to drugs because you meet a bad influence peers. That is the negative consequence. On the other hand, you develop a friend group that always help you to prepare and to push you to strive to success. That is the positive consequence. So again, the latent function is the unintended consequences that can be good or bad. On the other hand, the manifest function are the intended purpose of the institutions. In accordance with structural functionalism, there are two structures that should be balanced to maintain the equilibrium of the society. So what are these structures all about? One structure is the institutions. Institutions that meets the needs of the society. Institutions are created to make sure the society moves forward and also to make sure the society to experience radical change, that things are always progressing. These institutions are educational system, financial institutions, businesses, mass media, hospitals, government agencies, and military corporations, and others. All of these serves different tasks within a society, and they have a crucial operation at full capacity to have a successful, productive, and progressive society. Again, institutions has different rules to play in the society. Another structure is what Durkheim called social facts. Social facts are ways of thinking and acting in society that is existed before any individual and will still exist after any individual is dead, meaning social facts are inevitable. These are unique objects that cannot be influenced by an individual. They have coercive effect over individual that is usually only noticed when we resist against them. Meaning, social facts are the unique things and we don't think of them a lot because it don't affect us until we actually go against them. Meaning, these are the things that influence us in every single day. They surround us all the time, but we don't really see them until we broke or go opposite to them. So for example, one of the social facts is the law. The law is always there, but we don't really notice it until we try to break it or go against it. So other examples of social facts are the moral regulations, religious faith, social currents, and so on. Social facts and institutions are the facets of the society itself. And according to Emil Durkheim, these are the necessary structures, and society was more than just to its parts, meaning they are dependent on every structures that create it, just like the clock, the car, and the cell. They are dependent on every little parts that make them up. Thus, every parts has a vital function that will depend on others, meaning without everything working together, the society will collapse. Structural functionalism is really focusing to the kind of order. Now, one of the things that structural functionalism has a problem with is these changes. It's a hard time explaining changes because structural functionalism believe that changes would never happen. So, why can't structural functionalism can adapt to change? So for example, we see farmer. Absolutely, farmer need to farm and they need to provide foods for the society. They don't have time to teach their children. They don't have time to make or produce goods that can turn into computers. They don't have time to make their clothes. And they don't have time also to run and manage the country. They don't have time for that because they need to focus on food production. So in order for this job to fill with, other farmers would take different roles, such as tailoring, education, politicians, and so on. And everyone became dependent to one another for their continued well-being. Thus, people became specialized and fostered mutual interdependence. So, all the people depend on each other for the production of goods and services. And there's a need to a method called distributions in order to regulate and control the productions of these goods and services. So, in functionalism, a change in either production, distribution, or coordination will force the other to adapt in order to maintain a stable state of society. Meaning, The more changes occur within a society, the harder for the structural functionalism to adapt and to compensate in order to maintain the stability of mutual interdependence. And that's all about the structural functionalism. If there's any questions, clarifications, or any reactions about the structural functionalism theory, feel free to tap the raise hand button in order for you to recognize. That's all. Thank you.